Well, we are here at the Newseum in Washington, D.C. for the D.C. premiere of Selma that's honoring Congressman John Lewis. And right now we're about to meet the stars, the cast, and the crew of this amazing film that's coming out December 25th worldwide on January 9th.
I wasn't nervous because I didn't approach the task as trying to play an icon. You can't play an icon. You can't play a historical figure. You can play a man, and that I know how to do. I'm a father of four myself. I'm a Christian myself. You know, these were the things I shared with Dr. King that I held on to, and then I tried to find all the other things, the oratory. Thankfully, I've done a lot of Shakespeare, so I've given a few speeches in my time that helped, and working with a dialect coach, all that good stuff. But also he was a spiritual man, and I felt I had to open myself up to that and hope that the spirit that flowed through him flows through me for the purpose of the film, and I felt that doing this movie.
Well, you play such an iconic character, Amelia Bourne. How did you get involved with this project?
Ava DuVernay, the great Ava DuVernay, called and began to explain that she had written a part for me, a part of a wonderful woman, the mother of the civil rights movement, Amelia Boynton. One of the things that Ava said to me when we first talked, she said, you're going to be okay with the level of violence and the level of physicality that we're going to have to engage in on the bridge for Bloody Sunday. And I said, absolutely, of course I was. But I think nothing really prepares you for that day, when there are horses and there are batons and there are guns and there are troopers and the kind of bedlam on that bridge that we reenacted. That was tough shooting. That was emotionally tough. But what was even more difficult is when all of the actors gathered silently before we started shooting, and we said a prayer on that bridge, because as we looked over into those waters of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, we knew that in those murky waters there were bodies. There were many, 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 many bodies that we wanted to pay homage to, do right by.
So what's the one message you hope people take away from this movie?
That the individual can bring about change. These Martin Luther King and these people, these men, these women were very, very, very young. They were in their 20s and early 30s. And I think there's a kind of apathy that has descended on us these days, and where the individual doesn't necessarily feel empowered enough to bring about change, real change. And that's not the case. That's where it starts and that's how it happens. And we're certainly seeing a great deal of civil unrest in this country right now. We couldn't have timed this film better.
So your job as a cinematographer is to create a story visually. I'd like to know, what was going in your mind? What were you thinking?
All I can think about at the time was just making sure that every shot that I was helping Ava create was a mindful shot, was a shot that could be part of a discussion 30, 40 years from now when people are reflecting on where we are in American history then or where we've come from, that we could, somehow let this be a sort of nugget in the conversation about it.
We're here with author Michael Eric Dyson. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you, sir.
Excellent. So tell us why we should see Selma. Tell all the viewers out there why we should see this powerful film.
Well, look, this is one of the watershed moments of American history, certainly one of the high points of the civil rights movement, where the contest between good and evil, between right and wrong, between the forces of justice and the forces of injustice met. And Selma is the culminating point of the struggle for the self-determination of a people who were determined to get the franchise, who wanted to vote, who wanted to be able to register their opinion about democracy through formal channels. And so this was a bloody battle. And it was one of the most amazing conflagrations in American history, and people should see that. It's a riveting story about the desire of human beings of all races, creeds, and colors to make this country live up to the true meaning, as Dr. King said, of its creed.
Absolutely. Now, do you feel that the events of Selma parallel to the events of recent events that happened today?
Well, there's no question that, what we see going on in Ferguson and what we see going on in Staten Island and what we see happening in the streets of Washington, D.C. or Dallas, Texas, or New York City are testimony to people's desire to make sure that we don't buy the myth that we're in a post-racial era, that all the work that needs to be done has been done, and that the progress has been so permanent that it has wiped away institutional traces of racism. So yeah, I think that there are many parallels in the sense that motivated, activists are desirous of making sure that America becomes all that it's meant to be.
Wonderful. Thank you for the good words.
Thank you, sir.
Message you hope people take away from this film, especially people of my generation?
I would love for people to take away from Selma a message of hope and optimism, a message of determination, that you never ever give up, you never ever give in, that you be persistent and consistent.
We had an amazing time here at the Newseum. We interviewed the cast and crew of this powerful film, Selma, and if you haven't heard, it got 4 Golden Globe nominations, including Best Picture, Drama, and Best Actor and Best Director. Check it out when it comes to theaters January 9th. Reporting from the Newseum, this is Dean Rogers for the Rogers Revue. Signing off, take care.